Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Altar of the Brew.
Good evening. I'm going to be doing, I don't know his name from here. Balmor, Battlemage Captain. Red and a blue for a 1/3 legendary bird wizard with flying. He says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, creatures you control get 1/0 and gain trample until end of turn. So certainly less powerful, I think, than the last few that we built.
Yeah.
And with that, we're also doing a budget design today where we're trying to keep the total value of the deck under $100.
And in order to do that, we're using Moxfield's great tools. We're using TCG player pricing. Another big part of that is if you use the cardkingdom.com pricing, they hit you for big cost on your basics. So I think that's always when I build and I'm trying to do budget, I do the TCG player because it's also representative of closer to what you might get for cards that you want to trade, or maybe you got some stuff of this in your collection, versus if you're going to 100% buy every 101 of these cards. A lot of these cards are you're going to find in your bulk bin for free from your friends. They're going to hand them to you.
Draft chaff at the end of the night.
Right.
Just throw those cards away. Yeah.
Right. You don't have to even pay for these things. So it's even cheaper than the $100 we're going to stick by. But we're going to use TCG market price. And then the other tool that's really nice on Moxfield is you have a tool that allows you to do a cheapest version of the card. So if there's some really expensive wacky printing that it selects right off the bat, you can do that at any point when you're making the list to knock that price back down to what you could really get the deck for.
I also want to point out, as a Magic player has been playing for a long time, that I find it very humorous now that some of the foils are actually cheaper than the non-foil versions.
Right.
So, let's get started here. Welcome, everybody. Steve and I were talking about maybe doing this as a token strategy, kind of going a little bit wider, because that buff from the commander every time you cast a spell gains trample and makes them a little bit bigger. If we could chain a few of those spells in a turn, you could be really attacking with a pretty strong army.
Yep. So kind of do the build up an unstoppable force and keep building and building to the point where you're taking out a player or two at the end. Some big alpha strike turns, some stuff like that. But yeah, definitely on the aggressive. Definitely on the aggressive.
Yeah, this is definitely a win the game Spellslinger deck, not a sit back and counter everything kind of Spellslinger deck.
Right.
With that, we got the lands kind of sorted out here and just some mana artifacts. Generic 2-mana rocks that make colored mana or colorless mana that enter untapped. So you'll be able to use in the turn you play them, as well as Soul Ring. All came in pretty inexpensive. And then just several budgety dual lands like Terramorphic Expanse, Evolving Wilds. But there's some neater ones in here like Maestro's Theory, which is basically the same thing, just gives you a life. You also get some pretty solid ones with Shivan Reef, Sulphur Falls. The Snarl is pretty good at under $2. And while it is a little bit more expensive, Cascade Bluffs just really helps you fix your mana. It's an easy cut if we have a budgetary issue.
Yeah.
But otherwise, we're just rocking 35 lands right now. We might add some MDFCs, change accounts, but looks like a pretty nice base. We're about $14 right now. We only got about 55 cards to go. So
yeah.
Seems like it's going to be a pretty sweet brew. I'm actually looking forward to this. I have a deck that plays Krark and Kydel that kind of plays in a similar vein to this. A little bit more rampy, a little bit bigger, but it's definitely a Spellslinger style goes wide with tokens. So
Rich's entire strategy for the deck was what if I could get 2 rampant growths?
Yeah, I just love rampant growth so much. And I'm like, but I could get 2. Turns out that you could miss on the flip and then you end up paying for it twice anyway, or 6 times.
Yeah.
Sometimes you never get the elephant no matter how much you cast it.
Yep. No, not allowed to have that elephant spell.
Call to the herd. I think I cast this one 15 times. Never got one elephant off of it.
But the whole idea of the deck was to use the cards that trigger off of the cast, so even if you fail, you win.
Yep.
Right? So that's kind of some of the first place we wanted to start with this, was some of those creatures that then themselves are creatures, but they are going to continue to play into the strategy and offer us more and more and more creatures as we continue to play through our strategy. Right? Our commander says cast instants and sorceries.
Perfect.
Other creatures that also say, hey, you like instants and sorceries, so do we.
Start with a very iconic one here. Young Pyromancer.
Young Peasy, of course.
20 cents. This guy's super cheap. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, make a 1/1 elemental. He's a 2/1. Reason that I like cards like this is they're basically armies in a can. You just play your game plan and you just make board presence. You just threaten the board with a single 2/1 for 2 just by casting a couple cantrips. And with the commander out, they even get stronger because after you have one token with Young Pyromancer and your commander out, now you cast one spell, you just put 3 more power on the board just by casting a spell. Sorry, 4 power if you want to count the one that doesn't have haste yet. So very, very, very strong stuff. Steve and I actually talked about quite a few of these. There's a new one out now. It's called Third Path Iconoclast, I think it's called.
Yep. Another 2-mana one.
It's only $1, which isn't bad. This is Third Path Iconoclast. A blue-red for a 2/1 human monk whenever you cast a non-creature spell. So it's even better than Young Pyromancer in that aspect, where we're even just casting our mana rocks generates a 1/1 colorless soldier artifact creature token. Now, right now, we don't currently have any designs for artifact synergies, but that might be helpful.
Sure.
Let's see here. What other ones do you like?
Talrand.
Oh yes, Talrand. The old Sky Summoner here. This is just like cantrip.deck back in the day, right?
Right, and of course, been printed into the living ground at 25 cents. If you have to pay 25 cents for a Talrand, you have no friends.
Yeah, I'm surprised your friends just don't give them to you at that point, because it's I have like 15 in my binder.
Right, yeah, bro. I was going to say.
They're in everything. So
I think I you see me, I'll give you a free Talrand anytime.
Honestly, the biggest downside to Talrand in this deck to me is the fact that it's legendary, because you can't copy it.
Right.
With inexpensive spells, you can do like Spark doubles and stuff. We don't really have the budget for that.
Right.
But Talrand's great. It's a 4-mana 2/2, a 2/2 blue for a legendary Merfolk Wizard. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, make a 2/2 blue Drake with flying. So not only are you getting just a free 2/2 flyer, which is amazing, but also your commander buffs those really quickly. You cast a couple spells with a couple of Drakes out, and all of a sudden you're just ending players' games very quickly. In the same vein, not as strong, but still a good one. A great blocker on the ground as well. Murmuring Mystic, 20 cents for 3 and a blue. It's a 1/5 human wizard. So if we do end up in any kind of wizard synergies, it's also that too.
Oh, we found some.
And it says whenever you cast an instant sorcery, make a 1/1 blue bird illusion with flying. And it doesn't have a good old-fashioned illusion on it where if the bird gets targeted, then it disappears. Just the creature type it is, which is sweet. I love this card. Honestly, I think this is one of my favorite things because you can copy it several times in a game, which is what I do with Krark. I tend to copy some of these things. And then you cast like Opt and make like 3 1/1 flyers for free. It's so good. So I really dig this card. What else we got here? Do you want to go into some of the deeper ones, the more expensive ones?
I think we're also big fans of Docent.
Oh yes, Docent to perfection, which is also spectacular with this deck. 248. Oh, this card was like $9. So 3 blue 5/4 flying insect horror. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery, it makes a Delver of Secrets, which is just a 1/1 human wizard. But then it says if you control 3 or more wizards, and your commander is a wizard, which is pretty sweet, as well as Talrand and Murmuring Mystic, and the creatures that it makes, it flips over into a 6/5 flyer that says wizards you control get 2/1 and have flying. And then whenever you cast an instant sorcery, it still puts that blue wizard creature on the battlefield. This card is the army in a can.
Yes.
So just as from a player standpoint, if you have 1 or 2 of these things out, you don't have to keep putting them out.
Right.
Save them because they're really powerful with any spells that you're going to play, really. And you can go pretty wide with one of these without like making yourself such a threat that you just get like Blasphemous acted out of the game and then you have nothing left. So just be aware about these little army in a can creatures that you don't want to extend too many of them onto the board at once because you just get blown out if you lose too many of them.
Right, and I also don't think we're going to play like a massive number of them because of that. Like, if you draw 3 of these in a row and no instants and sorceries, you're pretty sad.
Yeah, so you want to keep your creature count. We're really trying to keep our instants and sorceries very high in this deck.
Right.
But obviously you need the support. Got to get in there.
Right. So I think we're probably aiming for something between like a dozen and 15 creatures, somewhere in there-ish. We'll see where we end up, but that's probably kind of instinctually where I want to lean towards in a deck like this.
Yeah, I think
I could even go lower than that if you really wanted to, but we are going to need some more support in this deck for some of that stuff because we're without some of the big bangers in the budget world that are going to hit us really hard for things like card advantage and stuff. We're going to have to lean on some other effects.
No Ristic Studies or Mystic Remorse in this Pro, although I think Mystic Remorse is actually a budget card now.
Sure.
just for, I don't think it goes in this deck because it doesn't really fit what we're doing. But I'm just curious what the cost is on it now that's been reprinted. $470, still not budget, but still much cheaper than it once was.
Right.
So there's a few more that I'd like to list, even if they don't make the final cut. That if you have one of these, it's great to slot into one of the more budgety slots.
Sure.
But I think Poppet Stitcher is just, it is one of the coolest army in a cans that's not named Docent to Perfection. So this is 2 and a blue for a 2/3. It says whenever you cast instant sorcery, make a 2/2 zombie with Decayed, which means it can't block, and when you attack with it, you sacrifice it into combat. However, it says beginning of your upkeep, if you control 3 or more creature tokens, pretty easy to do in this deck, you may transform. You don't even have to. And then it makes all tokens you have lose all their abilities, but they have base power and toughness 3/3. And with your commander, getting a +1 and trample on a 3/3 is much better than getting +1 and trample on a 1/1.
Yeah.
So 4/3 tramplers that's a threat, And then it says beginning of your upkeep, you may transform it back if you want. So it's got that really neat utility. I don't know if it fits the budget, being almost $5, but I definitely think worth mentioning and putting in the sideboard
Sure.
or considering board.
Sure.
With that,
There's a new one, the Talrand's wife. It's his wife,
Oh,
right?
Alrand, yeah. Alrand, is that the name of it? Alondra. I'm a dingling.
I mean,
Sky Dreamer, same thing. It's Talrand plus more. So same exact mana cost. Still Merfolk Legendary Merfolk Wizard 2/4, which is a little bit better. It says whenever you draw your second card each turn, you make a 2/2 Blue Drake token with flying. And this crazy ability that our buddy recently blew us out with out of Friday Night Magic. It says when you draw your 5th card each turn, it just gives itself and Drakes you control XX in a turn with X number of cards in your hand. And he had 13 cards, and he just leveled us with 6 Drakes.
yeah.
So it's definitely a cool card, and I definitely think it's worth putting in here if you have it. But otherwise, just as a budget option, I don't think it fits as well.
Plus, it's also more paying off for a Cantrippy style build where you're going to draw, right? Maybe play some bigger draw spells to hit those other numbers. But I think we're going to lean more towards some of the token creation stuff than the big draw stuff.
Yep, and I agree. And this fits in line with Alondra with the drawing lots of cards, cantrippy stuff. Just as when you draw your second card each turn, make a 1/1 blue fairy token with flying, and then it has an ability to pay 6, which is 4, a blue and a red. Draw a card and discard a card. So actually you can trigger it if you want to get a lot of mana. Fine card. Like I said, don't think it fits this deck, but it might. So I'll move to considering. And then
the other ones you like. You're a big Dika fan.
I am a big Dika fan. Just because it has a sneaky ability that people just never see coming. Yeah, so no, it is
big winner in the Rich's Custom Commander Cube.
Oh yeah,
give it a chance to check out the Commander Cube. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, this is really neat in the cube because it counts. It uses counters. It makes tokens. It makes unblockable things. It works in Spellslinger. It's just one of those cards that kind of does all of the things. In this deck, it is a 5-mana 3/3 legendary human wizard, which is pretty sweet because it's a wizard. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery, you make a 0/0 fractal creature. It's green and blue, which is funny in a deck. And you put X/1/1 counters on it, where X is that spell's mana value. And then it has an activated ability for 3 and a blue, where a creature token can't be blocked this turn. And it just says target, not just yours. So when your opponent is a huge one they're attacking somebody else with, you can just blow somebody out.
Desolation Twin.
It's pretty funny, yeah.
What's the if you make a token, tap it, draw a card, guard idol, the idol.
The 6/12 or something.
The mana rock. The rock we all play. That if you make a token, you tap it, you draw a card, and then you can activate it, and you make a 12/12 token or something like that.
I can't remember the name of it.
Idol of Oblivion.
Idol of Oblivion.
Yeah.
Not saying Dika fits this list because we're not really intending to copy a lot of spells, but in my Quark list, it's a sweet card.
Yeah.
That said, totally reasonable to play in the deck if you have one and you want to jam it in there. And then I have more enchantment, I think. Now me, I'm a big fan of this card, and I don't know if it fits this deck, but it's so cool. $183 is pretty much on point for the budget, but it's an enchantment called Metallurgic Summons for 3, a blue and a blue. I don't know who that is, but we're going to get there in a second. It says, whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell, create an XX colorless construct artifact token, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. This card is amazing with delve spells, because your delve spells cost 1 or 2, and then you're getting like 7/7s and 8/8s off of them. But it has this sweet, awesome extra ability. It says you can pay 3 blue and exile it, and return all instant sorceries from your graveyard to your hand. And you activate it if you have 6 or more artifacts. Now, our Iconoclast makes artifact creatures, and I also play Saheeli in my deck, which is another really good one. And this makes artifact creatures. And then with just a couple of mana rocks, it's very easy to get up to that 6 artifacts. And then just paying 5 mana to like basically draw 15 cards is absolutely bananas.
Right.
I don't know if you think it fits, but because most of our cards we're looking at are probably like 1 and 2 to 3 mana, so it's not going to make a lot of big things, but it is a neat card nonetheless.
But when they have trample,
that's a good point.
Changes everything.
And then I'm not sure if we're putting it in, but I do want to mention Saheeli here. It's pretty much the exact same thing as Iconoclast, but it's 44 cents. It's even cheaper. It's a planeswalker, so it can be attacked, but it's you can play it for blue or red, which is nice. It's 3 mana with hybrid cost, 5 loyalty, and it says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, make a 1/1 colorless servo, which is just a ground artifact creature, and then you can -2 to give an artifact creature you control becomes a copy of another target artifact or creature you control, and except it's an artifact. And one of the reasons this card's really neat is you can take one of those servos or one of those Iconoclast tokens and just turn it into like a Murmuring Mystic for the turn, or another Docent of Perfection, have double anthems and stuff like that. It just gives you a lot of utility. It's pretty easy to cast, and it triggers all of your non-creature casts. So it's a neat card. Again, not sure if it fits, but it is a nice budget too. Also fun to have a planeswalker in there.
Right. So now we got that's 7. If you leave all of those in there, is that kind of a balance you think we want? You want more than that? You want less than that?
Right now, I think 7 is more than fine.
Okay.
I think that we would want to see what we're going to play for spells to generate tokens.
Okay.
We have a suggestion over here in chat as well.
Okay. Ducks Jeff with the Harmonic Prodigy.
Harmonic Prodigy. Let's take a look. I think that one is it's a prowess creature, I want to say.
No, it's the one that lets our commander double trigger.
All right, let's take a look at it.
And Docent and...
I was right. It does have prowess. I'm not crazy. 1 in a red, 1/3 prowess, human wizard, which is great. Ability of a shaman or a wizard you control triggers an additional time. Yeah, that is spicy.
Right.
That means Talrand's going to get you 2. That means that
Docent gets you 2.
Docent does not get you 2.
On the backside,
On the backside, it is an Eldrazi.
Eldrazi insect.
But
Nerds.
Let's see here.
Not the monk. Talrand.
Just Talrand and Murmuring Mystic.
And your commander.
And your commander, which is sweet, yeah. So definitely cool there.
And it has prowess, so it itself has the ability to become threatening.
Yeah, great suggestion. I don't know who that is.
First time chatter.
First time chatter. Welcome. Let's switch this to the non...
Is that the cheapest, though? Maybe that's the cheapest.
Oh, that's right. We're on the cheap setting, which is that one.
Whoa.
What did I do?
Innovation funds.
refunds.
No, don't want that.
Can we go back from here?
No, it's still, you opened a new tab.
I just opened a new tab. All right. All right,
There we go.
Nice suggestion. Thank you. Alrighty, so I want to move on to some spells.
Yeah, let's
Instants
do some
and sorceries. Yeah,
instants and sorceries, and I think we want them to also make duders.
So I don't know if we want to play it, but I like this card a lot. Something about Hard Evidence for 6 cents, especially. It's a 1 blue sorcery. It says make an 0/3 crab, and then you also investigate. So you're actually making 2 tokens from it, which adds to your artifact count, or just lets you pay 2 later and draw a card. 0/3s aren't great, but when they're getting a 1 buff from your commander every time you cast an instant or sorcery, it's pretty sweet. I don't know what you think about that.
I'm fine with it. I'm a crab fan.
I'm a big crab fan over here. Let's see here. What else we got?
Sure.
Go with my favorite, making goblins.
Dragon Fodder. Kranko's Command.
I'm fairly confident I've played these 2 cards more than anybody in Commander.
What's the other one? You see a pair of goblins. Or is that one the one that doesn't make goblins?
Oh, no, that one, it's on there. You see a pair of goblins.
Dragon Fodder. I've never seen that one. Oh, this is the new Jumpstart art.
Jumpstart art, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Kranko's Command. 2 mana, 2 gobos. 2 mana, 2 gobos.
And they're sorceries, so they trigger all of these things here that are relevant to trigger. Also, and just like I said, with Metallurgic Summons, these are making a 2/2 as well. So if you think about the value of, like, I paid 1 in a red, I got 2 1/1s, a 2/2, and then my team got 1/0 in trample. The tokens it creates on cast, you can stack the cast triggers how you want, but the tokens that will happen off of the command will happen after the cast triggers resolve. Just for game state purposes.
A little bit hard to track. Maybe you're gonna probably like put your creatures in like columns or something. Like, these were out, then these were out, then these were out.
It gets really complicated when you give haste.
Yes.
Which I still think is a reasonable thing to do. Empty the Warrens from John. Yeah, John. 100% Empty the Warrens is amazing. If you can chain 2 spells, it's fine. Making 4 goblins for 4 mana is totally reasonable. At 4 cents, mind you.
Right, and they just reprinted it. It was in Dominaria Remastered, so you can get all the cool versions of it, whatever your pleasure is. Oh, yeah. Part of the reason I wanted to brew this deck was I cracked a old border foil variant of Empty the Warren, so I was like, I've been looking at this Balmor deck. We got to brew it now.
Yeah, it's super sweet. So basically, it's 3 in a red for a sorcery. It makes 2 1/1 goblins, but it also has storm, so you copy it for every spell that was cast this turn before it. So basically, when you're chaining some spells together, this is the last one. This is also just kind of an army in a can. If you just have a turn where you need to put a bunch of things in the field, you just go cantrip, 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 empty the Warrens, make 8 goblins, and you just cast Balmor the following turn, cast 1 spell, and you can just hit somebody for like 16. That's pretty sweet. Alrighty, let's see. So we'll cross that one off.
Release the Gremlins. Somebody Jeff suggested here as well.
Do we like Release the Gremlins? I think it's a good card.
What's the price tag? I can't imagine it's much.
Oh no, it can't be. It's overcosted to artifact destruction. 23
cents.
Because it's XX in red. Destroy X target artifacts. Create X/2/2 red gremlin creature tokens. Great because it scales with the game. Additionally, it has a secret mode in this deck where you could just pay 0 for X and trigger all of your things and cast its sorceries. Hey man, sometimes it's just the game win. Like, oh, I just need to buff my team by 1 more.
Yep.
And this card can do it for you. I think it's a great ad from
Jeff.
Jeff. Let's see here. In line with Dragon Fodder and Kragless Command, they put out a new one that I really dig, which is called Forbidden Friendship. So this card is it's like a better Dragon Fodder and Kragless Command, except that it doesn't make goblins. So it's a 1 in a red sorcery. It makes a 1/1 red dino with haste and a 1/1 white human token. And I totally dig it. I love the flavor of the card. I love that it's a guy hanging out with a dino. I love it makes 2 wildly different creature types. The cool thing about decks like this, the stack of tokens you get to bring to the table with you, it'd be like, it's just all weird ones. Like these Metallurgic Summons tokens are hilarious to look at.
Right.
Servos.
You need gremlins.
Gremlins. Like, that's the best part about a deck like this.
Goblins. Wizards that flip into insect horrors.
So I had this one on my list here, Occult Epiphany. See what pops up.
I don't know that one.
21 cents, a new card to me. I've never cast it before, but it looked too good not to look at. So it's X and a blue for an instant, which is sweet. It says draw X cards, then discard X cards. Create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying for each card type among cards discarded this way.
Okay, all right.
So, heck, even if you just use it as a cantrip and pitch a land, you just made a 1/1, basically. It's similar to your Faithless Lootings and stuff like that, but you get to draw the cards, then discard the cards. So you literally could just filter this if you need it at the end step.
That makes
Basically,
sense.
just mill yourself for a bunch. However many card types are in there, that's how many creatures you get. And it just seemed neat at a budget card. It was in a commander deck, I think. That's what it looks like. So that's pretty sweet.
That one's cool, and it's instant.
And it's an instant. So like I said, you can just pass all that mana up.
Yeah.
And then you're just make a whole bunch of 1/1s.
Perfectly reasonable to me.
Let's see here. What else we got? We got Stolen by the Fae, right? That's one that I know you like.
Yep, that was on my list for sure.
Stolen by the Fae.
As somebody who came back to Magic to get hit in the face by Throne of Eldraine.
Stolen by the Fae is an X blue. Let me put it here. Sorcery which says return target creature with mana value X to its owner's hand. You create that many the X 1/1 blue fairy creature tokens of flying. Flying in this deck, flying tokens are superb.
Yes.
Because your buffs just get even stronger when creatures can't even block them. What do you got over here? Anything good?
That was... I think the other one that I found... What's Notorious Throng's price these days?
$0.39. Are we able to trigger this, though? Doesn't look like we will. So Notorious Throng is a rogue tribal sorcery for 3 and a blue. It says you can create X 1/1 black fairy rogue creature tokens with flying, or X of the damage dealt to your opponent's this turn. If the prowl cost was paid, you can take an extra turn after this one. The only problem is the prowl cost requires you to hit with a rogue.
I didn't realize. I thought you just had to hit. I didn't realize it was a rogue. My bad.
However, this card does have the high floor, low ceiling problem.
Sure.
Where, like, yeah, you might just make a 1/1 on this if you hit one player for 1 damage. Or you hit somebody for, like, 30 and then make 30 fairies and then kill everybody next turn. Definitely think it's one of those cool, fun, swinging cards I'd definitely love to leave in the list.
All right.
We all love fairy tokens, John. They're the best. Sorry, second best. Third best. Fourth best.
Wait a minute. All right.
Fifth best. Sorry. I'm just thinking about... So you got goblins, which is the best token. There's no way. Krenko is the boss for a reason. Then you got beast tokens, which are just in everything. Everything makes beasts. Primeval Bounty makes beasts. I'm just saying, play the game, win the game. Then you got badgers, which are recently a new favorite of mine. Thopter tokens are just artifacts. They're just better than fairies because they're artifacts. Nah, I'm just messing with you, bud. Fairies are awesome. Let's see here. So I have this other one, Sweep the Skies. Is this the one that makes the flyers I was thinking about? Let's see, what's the budget here? 1 cent. I think that fits the budget. Let's see if it works, though. Sweep the Skies is X blue. This is like the worst one, though. Converge says create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact token with flying for each color of mana spent to cast the spell. So essentially what you do is you play red, blue for it, and you make 2 1/1 flying Thopters. Trigger all your things. However, it is kind of a weaker one, but if you make some treasures or something throughout the game, which other spells tend to do, you could make 3 or 4 or 5 different Thopters off this. The cost does escalate, though, so I think this is fine to move to considering if it's something you wanted to try out.
Are we fine with a Hordling Outburst?
I love Hordling Outburst. I am totally in for that. 3 mana, sorcery, 1 red, makes 3 goblin tokens. It's awesome.
Are we digging all the way down to Satyr's Cunning?
I don't know about Satyr's Cunning. I mean, might as well consider it at least.
It does have Escape.
It does. That's the only reason that card is good.
It does have Escape.
Satyr's Cunning, and it's 2 cents. It's twice as
Which,
much as the
you know
rare
what?
that I just suggested.
It's almost like it's Underworld Breach.
It's not a rare.
I mean...
Yeah, it's exactly like Underworld Breach. It's a 1 red for sorcery that makes a 1/1 that can't block. But it has Escape for 2 and a red to exile 2 other cards from your graveyard. Go with the fetch lands. Go with anything you pitch to it. So it's totally reasonable to have in the deck. Also, it's really cool that, like, even without any cards in your hand, you could still trigger your commander or any one of your token generators because the escape cost in this is actually pretty cheap. I don't think it's very good because it just makes a 1/1 that can't block, but it also, gets buffed by your 1/0 and trample from your commander, so
Sure.
totally reasonable. Also, I can't wait on saying this card. Yeah, we're making a bunch of dinky 1/1s, and we're putting a bunch of instant sorceries in the bin, but I think that we should talk about Octavia. Too excited.
You're too excited? You gotta jump to it?
I gotta jump to it.
You gotta jump to it?
In the middle of it.
All right, fine.
So, like, everybody's like, oh, 1/1s are kind of dinky. Yes, they are. But Octavia here, it is another creature. It does cost 10 mana for an 8/8. Legendary Elemental Octopus. It does say it costs 8 less if you have 8 or more instants and or sorceries in your graveyard. So basically just blue if our deck is humming the way it's supposed to. Ward 8, which means if anybody wants to target with a spell or ability that's not you, they have to pay 8 mana. Which means this thing basically has hexproof, for the most part. And then it has a really sweet ability. It says whenever you cast or copy an instant sorcery, target creature has base power or toughness 8/8 until end of turn.
Which is super cool. This is a cool deck on its own. This build is really neat. I've seen it. I know Rachel Weeks has one of these decks. It's really sweet. But, like, 8/8s are crazy. But when they have trample, they're really crazy.
They're really good with trample. And also, you could just make your commander an 8/8 and then cast a couple spells and you could just lethal somebody out. Like, It's pretty powerful. Like, imagine like just casting Temur Battle Rage on Balmor and then triggering your Octavia first, and then all of a sudden now it has double strike and it's a 9/8. Like, it's pretty good. But I digress. We have a suggestion over here. Haze of Rage. Yeah, that's a sweet card. I think that's a buff that it has Storm, if I remember correctly.
No, buyback.
Oh, I thought it was the Storm one. It has Storm and Buyback.
Whoa,
Both
never
right.
mind.
That card's really cool. So it's a 1 in a red sorcery with Buyback 2, which means you can pay an additional 2 when you cast it and return it back to your hand as it resolves. And it just gives all your creatures 1/0 until end of turn, and then it has Storm, which is really cool if you're making lots and lots of mana. You cast this thing, 2 times in a turn with your commander out. Your team's getting 4/0 and trample. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
No, probably more than that because it's got Storm too.
Right.
So, yes, very, very good suggestion. Yeah, both. Thanks, Jeff.
We both, I think, had Indulge Excess on our
Yeah,
list.
this is a newer card. I never got to play with it, but it's such a neat one. This is a commander deck card, I think it is. 38 cents.
That's what I like
Even
to see.
cheaper than the dollar I wrote down. I just rounded up. But this one is... So it's 2 in a red for a sorcery. It says whenever a creature you control attacks this turn, make a 1/1 green and white citizen creature token that's tapped and attacking. Ooh-wee, that's strong. And then it has Aftermath, where it says you can pay, if it's in your graveyard, you pay 1 and a red, and then you can create a treasure token for each creature you control that dealt damage, combat damage to a player this turn, which can be a huge swath of mana,
Right.
depending on how wide you're going or what player just left themselves open. Very, very cool. What we got down here? Stormkiln Artist. Yes, John. This one is a bit tougher on the budget, as being it's like almost $4, I think.
Stormkill 1 words or 2?
I think it's hyphenated.
There it is.
Yeah, it's like $4, but yeah, this card is bonkers.
I mean, we're at almost 70 cards and we're at $30.
I think we're doing okay. With that, then, I would definitely say we should add in the Archmage Emeritus then. Because we're kind of hurting on card draw.
Yeah.
And Archmage Emeritus says whenever you cast or copy a spell, draw a card. So you know those cantrips you're paying 1 for? Well, you pay 1 to draw a card, and then this guy says draw another card. It's not optional, by the way, so be careful. You could deck yourself.
Don't do that.
It is a $4 card, but our budget's so low right now that I think we're really killing it. This card also Wizard, helpful for Wizard synergies.
Speaking of another potential wizard that might make us change our rock count, would be Goblin Electromancer.
Ooh, Goblin Electromancer, yeah.
There's a couple of these creatures that pay you off, like that have a discount on instants and sorceries. They're really cool. They also play into our role of putting a creature on the battlefield that's going to get a trample and a buff rather than a rock, so we can kind of maybe change our rocks depending at the end of this where we see. Another personal favorite, and that's kind of janky and fun that I like, is Curious Homunculus.
Oh, Curious Homunculus. This is the one that the mana can only be used for instance sorceries, right?
It is,
Yeah.
but however, it flips into
Homunculus?
into a card called Voracious Reader, which I think is just
24
hysterical.
cents. I think this is a mana dork, too.
It's a mana dork. It's a 2-mana mana dork that taps for instants and sorceries. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 3 or more instants or sorceries in your graveyard, it flips, and it becomes a 3/4 with prowess that discounts all your instants and sorceries by 1.
Yeah, this is totally solid. It's a great card.
So I've always think it, and I think homunculuses and homunculi are a truly hysterical creature type in Magic. I would build a homunculus tribal deck if it wasn't just straight garbage.
Challenge accepted. I built beer back in the day.
Give me some homunculus payoff, and I will do it.
I suppose that's true. There's
right?
not too many of those.
No, there are not homunculus payoffs. I think we also had you see a pair of goblins. We talked about that one. Let's get that one in there.
Yeah, so 18 cents here. I believe this is a sorcery with Entwine, if I remember correctly.
It's instant.
Oh, I'm thinking of the other one that's on my list here. So 2 in a red instant. You can choose to either give a whole team 2/0 until end of turn, which is a great combat trick when you're going wide, or it just makes 2 1/1s at instant speed goblin tokens. Again, triggers everything. It's just a fantastic card, I think.
I think another good support creature that we both were thinking about was from the Baldur's Gate commander decks was Gale, Waterdeep Prodigy.
Oh, Gale, yeah.
Because we talked about I think we've put a lot of sorceries in because a lot of the creature creating stuff for sorceries we're gonna have to kind of balance out with some of our instants, and then Gale pays off really well. So Gale allows you to, when you cast one of those types, to get the other one from your graveyard gets kind of flashback. So some of the really powerful card draw effects that we have in here are pricey, right?
Yeah.
Card power, Ristic Study's not going in this deck.
That's not going in this deck.
So something like a Gale at 13 cents that gets you other cards back from your graveyard.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Sweet card. 1/3. It's Human Wizard for 3, 2 and a blue. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery, you can cast one of those from your graveyard. The other type from your graveyard. So if you cast an instant, you can cast a sorcery from your graveyard and then exile it.
Yeah.
If you cast a sorcery, same thing with an instant out of your graveyard. Great card. Totally reasonable. With that, I also really like what's it called? It does almost the exact same thing, but it's on attacks. It's a very good card. What is the name of it? Oh, Dreadhorde Arcanist. You seen this card?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's a sweet card. I don't know if we're going to have enough 1 and 2 mana things to make this good, but it's definitely reasonable to put in the considering it is a buck. But Dreadhorde Arcanist right here is a 1 and 3 Trampler already. Zombie Wizard, so Wizard's good for 2 mana, 1 and a red. When it attacks, cast an instant or sorcery from your graveyard where converting mana cost equal to or less than his power, and then exile it if it would resolve.
But we also have the trigger over casting an instant sorcery anyway. It gets more.
It does indeed.
Right, so that kind of plays into it.
Yeah, it's a neat card.
Some other ones that I had that were probably going to be more in our considering board is a deck like this really likes a card like Burgy, right?
Oh,
Burgy's like $9.
Burgy's it's getting up there now.
Right, so I like the budget Burgy, which is Runaway Steamkin. I don't know if you know this one.
I know, but Burgy's $6.74 with the cheap version.
Oh, okay. Well, it's not.
Hey, listen, if we got extra money at the end, we might just toss it in. But for your consideration, 3 mana, 2 and a red for a legendary god, 3/3. Whenever you cast a spell, doesn't matter what kind, add a red, and you don't lose it as you move through steps and phases. Then it says creatures can boast twice during turn. I've never ever seen anybody use boast ever in Commander.
No, I have not.
I'm sure there's a way to, and now challenge accepted. But
right. Well, the black one that's a tutor on a stick for boast is pretty good.
that's pretty solid. But attacking with a 2/3 in Commander is not easy, I don't think.
Right.
5 on the back side, it's got 4 and a red for legendary artifacts. Says you just pitch a card, discard a card, and exile top 2 of your library, and you can play them this turn. So it's definitely a good card advantage card. Definitely worth putting in the considering board for sure. I think if we have the budget for it, it'd be fine to slot in.
Sure.
Maybe it'll move it to considering one of these days. There.
Oh, you moved Notorious.
I moved Notorious Throne. We're expand this, put it back. Sorry about that.
I think there's also a world where you cast Notorious Throne, get the Fairy Rogues, attack with them, and then flash back the Notorious Throne, and then get the turn.
We could potentially do that.
We got Gale.
It is definitely a thing that can happen.
Not wildly magical Christmas land, but yeah, I think Runaway Steamkin deserves to be put in the considering board as well.
Yeah, Runaway Steamkin is a great card. I remember its time in Standard. It was a house that no one could bring down. Also, you can really cheat with this card pretty well. It gets through mana costs very easily, but also is like a big dumb beater at 4. It becomes a 2 mana 4/4, and then you hit a couple triggers off Balmor. Now you get a big old beater. Then you can just remove counters. It's really cool. So 2 mana 1/1 elemental. Whenever you cast a red spell, if it has fewer than 3 1/1 counters on it, put a 1/1 counter on it. Then it says you can move 3 1/1 counters to add 3 red to your mana pool. Solid Burgy impression of cast spells, get mana. This one just cares that the spells are red. I do want to put some more token generating spells in here.
Okay,
if we
what
could.
you got?
So I have this Goblin War Party, 11 cents.
Big spender. This might be like a $50 deck.
It could be really cheap. So it's a 4 mana make 3 1/1 goblins, or your team gets 1/1 in haste until its turn. But you could pay And then Twine cost of 2 and a red, so it makes the mana 7 for it. But then you get 3/1 goblins, and all your creatures get 1/1 and haste until turn. You get to do both things. So just the versatility of a card like this is really neat, in my opinion. Also, you're going to have mana as the game progresses, and you're going to want to have stuff to spend it on. Sometimes just like, okay, I'm just going to poop my hand out on the battlefield, and then I'm going to give them all 1/1 haste in addition to Balmor's triggers, and then just kind of go buck wild. Which I haven't said that term in 100 years.
I think we need. Do we have any more token creation spells you want to put in there?
I got a few that we could discuss if you want. I don't know if they'll end up in here. This Goblin Wizardry is a new one that I have yet to cast. So it's definitely one of the... it's definitely not Goblin Wizard at $86. Wizardry at 5 cents here. I believe it's an instant.
Ooh, it's an instant. I didn't realize that.
3 and a red, create 2 1/1 Goblin Wizard tokens with prowess.
That's just funny that they're goblins.
It's not great, but it makes prowess creatures, which are really good with our commander.
Right.
Especially because the commander gives trample when you trigger it. Easy cut, but it is an instant, so you can like kind of hold up the mana if you need it. You can use it as kind of like a defensive spell. It is neat in that way.
I like that. I didn't realize that was an instant. I had that on my list, but I definitely did not think it was an instant.
I have a couple more here. Talrand's Invocation, whopping 2 cents. I don't know if this makes the deck. It's a 4-mana sorcery, but it makes 2 Drakes, 2 flying 2/2 Drakes.
Yep.
Could be a reasonable card if we need it. Very easy cut if we don't, though.
Okay.
And with that, we also have Goblin Rally, another very easy cut if we don't need it, but it's fine if we do. This is a 5-mana sorcery, so it's kind of big. 3 red, make 4 1/1 Goblin tokens. It's kind of just like put a bunch of things in the field for 1 card, and then your Balmor can make them strong as you cast cantrips. So it's just kind of like another like army in a can, but also it's not repeatable.
Okay.
So totally reasonable card to play, though. I think if we need more of that. Those are all my main ones that I had listed.
All right. Do we want to move into? You've also got. You thought about like maybe some creatures that make creatures.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you think those are reasonable, or I mean, I personally think that we should stick to the instant sorceries, but this one is just. It generates a free creature every single turn.
Right. So I think you had that. Loyal Apprentice was on there.
Yeah, plus, I think this card's going to go up, so pick up your copy when you can, because I think it's still really cheap right now. $1.08. Pick up copies of this card. This card is so good. It's like a Winota staple. If you play Winota or ever want to, this card's great and everything. Basically, it's a Human Artificer 2/1, which is even better for the Trampler ability that it would get. For 2, it has haste, so you can just attack when the turn it comes into play. It has an ability called Lieutenant, which means if you control your commander at the beginning of combat, you make a 1/1 Thopter with haste and flying.
It doesn't go away.
Yep, and it just stays forever. So every turn, as long as it sticks out there, you just make more and more tokens. And if we put any copy spells in this deck, this is a sweet creature to copy.
True.
Very easy cut, though, if we need to chop down on creatures. And that puts us at 16 total with the commander. So that's kind of in the 10 to 15 range Steve and I were talking about.
Sure.
All right.
I had wasn't there a new spell that was just printed? It's Locust God, too much or too splashy.
Locust God, let's take a look.
I think Locust God
might be expensive, right?
They did reprint it, $3.
$3.34. I think if we go like heavy into cantrips, it might be reasonable. With 6 mana, it's kind of a pretty hefty front end cost on this card. Still a sweet card. It's a 4 blue-red for Legendary God 4/4 flyer. Whenever you draw a card, you make a 1/1 blue and red insect token with flying and haste. And then it has the ability for 2 blue-red, draw a card, discard a card, and then when it dies, you return it to your hand at the beginning of next end step. Actually, this card seems like it fits perfectly fine in this deck. The plan is to probably play some cantrips, so it's reasonable, and it just triggers every turn. But it is 6 mana, so that's the only argument that I would make against it.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit heavy mana cost for us. I don't know.
I don't know either, but we'll leave it in there for now, and we can always potentially leave it as a cut. Like if we decide hey, we're just playing. We're already at 81 cards. We don't even have that many cantrips in here, so to say another 20 cantrips, that might be the card to play. But we're probably going to do some more things besides that.
Yeah.
You were going to say about a card that.
There's a new card that just printed. This might require us to get into the Scryfall search. There's a new make a token copy of a creature spell.
Irenicus's Vile Duplication?
That would be the one.
I think that might be expensive, though. I play it in Ivy.
I just came to mind. I didn't remember.
Did I spell that right? Come on, make me feel good, EDH. Whatever this is, Moxfield. Yes! $4.
Yeah, I think that's probably why I didn't have it on my list.
It's a bit hefty, but it says create a token that's a copy of target creature control, except the token is flying and isn't legendary if the creature's legendary. Slam dunk copy in Balmor with this.
Right?
Because these 2 Balmors means that every spell you cast gives your creatures 2 on trample. This is amazing. It might be a bit hefty for our budget, although we're only at $45. And we only have 18 cards left, so...
Yeah, we have not spent.
Leave it in there for now. We might need to add more money to this, or just try to keep it under 50. Who knows? The goal was 100, but I think we're killing it. Man, I have so many cards in this list I haven't even touched yet. We're already at 82. That's a sweet card, though. I dig it.
Right, we did add some mana-producing things, right? Right now we've got Stormkiln, we've got Runaway, which Runaway doesn't have to stay in there. Can if we want. We've got the Homunculus.
And the more I think
we could
about
probably
it,
go down.
these rocks don't seem to make a lot of sense to me. Like, you want to jam Balmor on 2 most of the time. No, not really. Kind of want to jam, like, Young Pyromancer on 2 or
right.
Curious Homunculus or Runaway Steamkin. Even Harmonic Prodigy is not terrible. It's not great, though, on turn 2. But I definitely think there's a lot of turn 2 plays that you probably want before one of these rocks. I can definitely see cutting all the colored ones. The colorless ones.
I could definitely see the Prismatic Lens leaving easily.
Yeah. I like Mindstone because it can draw a card.
Mindstone's always better. Is always going to be the last colorless one I'm going to cut.
All right, well, I just cut it by accident.
That's fine.
But just for the sake of argument, like, what if we just cut all of the, or not cut them, but move them to the side, the considering board, all the ones that just don't produce, like, on their face value, colored mana.
Okay.
Liquid Metal Torque's usually my last cut because you can pair it with a Braid to blow up enchantments, which is really hard for these colors to do. But again, I don't think we need this much. Our mana cost is fairly reasonable. At, like, you can see, like, we're pretty low right now, 163, and they're mostly just 2 drops and 4 drops.
And we're gonna add a lot of 1 drops probably.
We're probably gonna add a bunch of 1 drops. So maybe just pull these out. We have good mana too, which is nice.
There are
and this frees up some slots.
Is there another playable? Let me do a little side quest here. Is there another playable Electromancer, Curious Homunculus type?
I mean, there's Baral. It's probably more expensive. Yeah, $335. We got the budget for it.
Yeah,
he cares about you. He cares about you countering stuff.
He does.
Instant sorceries cost 1 less. There's some other, like, cooler ones. Like, there's the Planeswalker that I play that's the cost reducer. There's an enchantment that's a cost reducer that lets you scry when you cast instant sorcery.
Yeah, let me. Why don't you throw some? You want to throw some of your favorite cantrips in here, something like that, or you want to do a couple more payoffs? I think we were gonna. Do we want? What do you want to look at next?
It's getting hard because we got a lot of cool stuff. I mean, I think the cantrips are important. I wouldn't mind putting some of the payoffs in here, or even some of the support that we've talked about.
Yeah, we'll probably end up adding way more and then cutting back.
Yeah, I don't think we need any of these things. I definitely don't need these. They're just creatures that produce a token, but that's not really good enough because it's not really what our strategy does. You know, I think that some of these are pretty sweet though. Like, we already did Goblin Electromancer. Oh, I want to put in the pink thingamagummer. That thing is awesome. It's from the 40k decks. Pink Horror, 87 cents. I love a card. I mean, granted, it's a creature and it costs 5 mana. It's a 4/4. It says whenever you cast instant sorcery, it just hits anything for 2. You just shock whatever you want, which is very powerful. And then it says when it dies, you create 2/2 blue and red demons that whenever you cast a sorcery spell, they ding something. So it has just a lot of utility with the deck. I don't know if it's good enough, but it seems like it is. You know, the question is, do you go like the gutter snipey type route and do all the ding damage? Now, while I don't think that's the way we want to go, I don't think this card is... I think you have to play this card in a token deck if you have one. This is too good not to play.
I don't disagree with you. Goblin Bombardment is wildly powerful.
So listen, for those of you who don't know me, I have done a lot of damage with Goblin Bombardment. I've controlled a lot of tables that I had no business controlling because I was playing a token deck with Bombardment out, and you basically get to regulate. People won't even be able to play their creatures because you have tokens in the field with Bombardment. So the game just becomes, oh, darn, I have to deal with Bombardment before I even deal with its creatures. It's such a powerful card. It's a good finisher. It's a way to let your creatures trade up in combat, which is awesome. So they don't block one of them, you hit them for one, and then you just ding their creature at the end that they blocked like your 3-power thing with. It is a very, very strong Magic card.
Mm-hmm.
And for its price of $161, I think it's totally worth putting in here. Zafai or Zafi? What does that say? Can you read that?
Zaffai. Thunder Conductor. Is this the thing that's like...
Let's take a look.
Is that the... that's the guitarist from the 60s.
Hendrix?
It's Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, it looks like
It's
Hendrix.
Jimi Hendrix.
So 2 blue, red for a 1 for it totally looks like Jimi Hendrix. Human Shaman, legendary. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery, scry 1. If the mana value was 5 or greater, make a 4/4 blue and red elemental token, which is awesome. If that spell's mana value is 10 or greater, it deals 10 damage to an opponent chosen at random. Totally reasonable card. Totally cool to put in here. Again, we'll try to probably chop the creatures down at the end so we can keep the spell count very high. But this is such a cool card. If we have a lot of things that like cost 5 and more, I totally think it's worth playing. Nice suggestion, Jeff. Thank you. What do you got?
I was looking to see if there are any more like dorks, any more of those like. There's a bunch of 2-mana dorks that are in blue that tap to let you cast instants and sorceries, but none of them really had any upside that I was looking for. There's a bunch of them though, so it is another option you could play. There's like 3 or 4 of them. There's 2 that are merfolk that are 1/3s.
I think if we went that route, I would prefer both Iron Mirror and the Blue Mirror.
Sure.
Because they just tap for a color. They don't require you to use them for instance sorceries.
Right. So you got
and their creatures and their artifacts are super easy to cast. But I think we're trying to keep this creature count a little more modest now.
Right. So Carfell Harbinger is a zombie wizard. We don't need that one. Unblinking Observer, another homunculus. That's a 2/1. Then you got 2 that are merfolk wizards that are both 1/3s. Voldarian Arcanist and Volsci Tide Turner.
Yeah, not just me or Jeff, but they're very good cards. I think that they're underutilized, seeing as how they're creatures, they're artifacts. They tap for colors that sometimes you have a hard time tapping for a mana door color in like blue. There's not too many things that tap for blue that are creatures that just let you use it unrestricted. So I really dig stuff like that. Also, like, they're just sneaky powerful. Like, you can Skull Clamp them. The mana that you use to activate Skull Clamp is on the creature itself, so that's really cool. And I just think, like, granted, they're like a tapped Mana Rock that's also a creature because you can't activate it turn comes play, but they also block better than Mana Rocks do. They attack better than Mana Rocks do. So there's just a lot of utility with, like, if you're going budget, those are really sweet cards in my opinion. I really like Mirror. And now Mirror becoming like a thing with the new set coming out.
Oh, yeah.
All the Mirror cards are like skyrocketing. All the ones that I played back in the day were like, these are junk.
Mirror Turban and all those, yeah.
So let's see here. What do you think about some removal here, like Chaos Warp? Just to make sure that we can also answer things that might be a bit of a trouble. I can't imagine this is very expensive. It's been printed like 1 billion times.
Yep, 48 cents, getting there.
Totally slam play. And adds to our instance, which is nice. What do you think about
Reality Shift? I think was the other one that's like really good removal that we had.
Reality Shift. Now that I have these other 2 here, Resculpt, Ravenform. Not sure how you feel about those.
Yeah, I think I like Resculpt. I'm less on Ravenform because it's sorcery speed. And we kind of need if we're going to keep Gale in the deck, I think we really need to balance out our...
We got to put more instants
We're going to put more instants in here for sure.
Oh, so I haven't really talked about these. Chaos Warp, 2 and a red instant. Owner of target permanent shuffles in their library and then reveals top card. If it's a permanent, put it on the battlefield. I usually use this card on myself, but in a deck like this, I never would. I like the secondary mode of using it on myself. Sometimes you just blow people out with like, they go to remove your thing, you put it back in your deck, you get something even better. Reality Shift, though, 1 and a blue, instant, exile a creature, its controller manifests top card of the library, which means they just take top card, put it face down, they can look at it, we can't. If it's a creature, they can pay its mana cost at any time to flip it up, but it loses its ETBs, it doesn't do anything like that. It just basically 2 mana exile creature is pretty sweet and blue.
And then Resculpt is the one that can hit an artifact or a creature. They get a 4/4 elemental. Usually that, if you have to get rid of something, a 4/4 is not the end of the world.
True. Also, and just because I am a big fan of secondary modes on cards, you could easily exile one of your own creatures with this or artifacts to make a much bigger, stronger creature.
Sure.
oh, that dude just put a Planeswalker on the field, and I know that I only have one spell to cast after my resculpt.
Sure.
Well, I'm going to exile my Talisman of Creativity now that I've got 8 lands on the field and I don't need it anymore. Get myself 4/4, attack that thing down. So it just gives you some extra utility. It's not great, and it's not a mode I would recommend often, but you never know.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of that. Let's see here. What are the? So we're saying Raven form. I'm gonna put it in the board just in case somebody's interested in it.
Sure.
So Raven form is not a card I've played before, but I was looking for budgety things. I thought this was a really neat card. 20 cents is a solid budget too. It is a sorcery though, but 2 and a blue, exile target artifact or creature, and its controller makes a 1/1 blue bird with flying, and then it has Foretell for blue, which means you pay 2 at any 2 on your turn. You exile it face down. So your opponents can't see it, but you can. And on any other turn, at sorcery speed, you can play it for 1 blue. So it's not terrible, but it's also not great either. Probably doesn't fit this particular build because we're so sorcery heavy right now. But just as a nice, inexpensive removal spell if you needed one. Let's see here. So let's get through my removal there. I don't think we're going to need any of these things. There's a lot in these piles that we're not even touching right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of good. There's like, we talked about like some really strong, powerful attackers being another thing, but some of the things that one, yeah, Wizards of the Thay.
Yeah, this is a new card. I haven't. Did I spell it wrong? Nope. No, the Wizards of Thay. I think is what it is. Yes, 59 cents. God, we spend way too much on our Magic decks. So this is 3 and a blue for a human wizard, 3/3 with Myriad, which means when it attacks, you make a token copy of it for every other opponent, and you attack them with it too. Which is sweet, but it also says instant sorceries you cast cost 1 less to cast. Hidden mode, if you attack your opponents with it and make 2 more of them, now your instant sorceries cost 3 less to cast. Then it also says you can cast sorceries as though they had flash. This card has a lot of great utility. I think this is totally a slam dunk for this type of deck, and we'll leave it in there for now until we need to make cuts. What else you got?
We want to go Crackling Drake.
All right, I don't think this makes the ultimate cut, but I can't not talk about this in a Spellslinger deck. So Crackling Drake is a 10-cent card that has blown out so many people. This is a blue, red for a flying drake that has a power of star 4. And its power and toughness equal number of instant sorcery cards you own in exile and your graveyard. And that is sneaky powerful because everybody always lets this thing through forgetting that the exile ability on it is relevant. It also says when it enters you draw a card. So if you copy it a few times, which is something I like to do with my Krork deck, you make 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of these things. All of a sudden you got an Air Force that's undefeatable that also gives you draw cards, and then also says that even if you exile your graveyard to delve, or if you're just flashing stuff back, it still counts those things that you previously exiled. This is the I think this is the precursor to that mythic dragon they put in Modern Horizons, right?
Sure.
I can't remember the name of it. Big blue dragon.
Galazeth Prismari?
No, not the Izzet one. It's like the one they play in Legacy now. It's like blue delve.
Oh, Murktide Region.
Murktide Region, yeah. This is the precursor to it.
So we want to play some cantrips here.
I was thinking we get to 100 cards and just not play any of them. What do you think? I'm just kidding. So we'll start with the easy ones. The instants are, I think, what we need to look at right now.
Yep.
So opt, very cheap, very easy instant. 1 blue, draw a card, or look at the top card of your library. Scry 1, sorry. Scry 1, then draw a card. I'm thinking of Consider, which is not a budget card.
Yes, it is. 48 cents.
What? Last time I saw it was like $4.
Incorrect, sir.
Oh, I'm buying a bunch of these now. I can't justify spending $4 on a cantrip. 81 cents. I can justify spending a bunch of money on that, though. So this is Consider 1 blue instant. Look at the top card of your library. You can put it in your graveyard. You don't have to. And you can draw a card.
Right. Plays into our some of our effects that care about how many things are in the graveyard, like Gale, Waterdeep Prodigy. Maybe another card that we talked about. It's another sorcery. But if we want to put it in here, was the Rise of the Tides. Yeah. Definitely seems like at least a considering board card. I love this card.
This card, in my opinion, is actually a finisher. Like this Rise from the Tides, I think it is. Sorry. Our buddy Steve, he used to play a standard deck with Brain in the Jar, and this was the win condition. Basically, he would cast it at instant speed and get 8 or 9 2/2s and just level the table. Let's see here. Where to go? Sorceries. So it's a 5 and a blue sorcery. Create a tap 2/2 black zombie creature token for each instant and sorcery in your graveyard.
I think 6 is a lot.
6 is a lot, but this is definitely going to be like, you're either going to play Rise from the Tides or you'll play Goblin Rally. You won't play both.
I think we can probably do better than that for a finisher. Yeah. I think we can put that in the considering board.
All right. I'm fine with that.
I think if we're paying that much mana, we can do better.
Alrighty.
What else do you like for cantrips? You want like an expedite? You want a leap? What do you?
I mean, I'm big on the blue ones to start. Like Brainstorm is not a card I enjoy very much in Commander because there's just not that many fetch lands in budget. But we do have 3 fetches here to shuffle with, if you want to get rid of junky cards. But at the same time, it's just a 1 mana instant.
Okay.
Blue, helps you trigger your Gale, which is nice. So it just says draw 3, then put 2 from your hand back on top of your library. The reason this card's good is this is a definitive legacy card, where they basically draw 3 cards, keep the best cards they have left, put the 2 junky ones back, crack a fetch land and shuffle them back in their deck, get better selection on their next draw. We do have some fetches, and if you do want to play Brainstorm in the deck, make sure you keep the fetches with it, if you can. Pretty simple. Also might be a good consideration to play that the land that has cycling, basic land cycling for 1, if you play Brainstorm.
What, Ash Barrens?
Ash Barrens, thank you.
Well, I think one of the ones that I like, maybe in this deck more than others, would just be Quicken.
Quicken is awesome.
Quicken is just 1 blue. You can cast a sorcery as though it was an instant, and then you draw a card. So in this deck where we got all these sorcery cards that can blow people out with like surprise blockers, or this is stronger. Also, you threw a peek in here.
I just threw a peek in here. It's a 1 blue instant. Look at our target player's hand, draw a card. And that ability to look at somebody's hand it's not nothing, but it's basically nothing. The cool thing about it is if you're playing with somebody who's like, maybe they have a Wrath in their deck and you don't want to overextend this turn, you can look at their hand and see if they got one. Maybe they'll draw one, maybe they won't, but you're like, oh, maybe this is the turn that I can extend because I know a Wrath's not coming, at least not until they draw their card. What's it say down here?
Twinferno.
Twinferno. Poor man's copy spell.
So not a bolt, not a fork.
Is it like when you cast your next one this turn? So 1 in a red instant, choose 1 when you cast your next instant or sorcery, copy it. You may choose new targets. Target creature you control against double strike. That's actually not bad. And it's an instant.
Okay.
Totally reasonable. If you're, say you're copying this Empty the Warrens original spell, then you get all the storm triggers in the copy too.
Okay, I'm into it. How about a Steve Sinicola special?
Ponder?
Sapphire Charm.
I mean, I like Sapphire Charm.
It's offensive, it's defensive, it just draws a card if you want.
It is a very neat card. 18 cents. This is back from Visions or Mirage. It's a card I loved growing up. I like that they gave us the old frame to Mirage. Oh, but it's a list card. It says, choose 1. Your target player draws a card at the beginning of next turn's upkeep. So it's a slow trip. Target creature an opponent controls phases out, which is awesome because it's like temporary removal. Or target creature gains flying until end of turn.
You turn that heat off in case it's blowing in our mic.
It's a sweet one. Let's see here. What else did I have? I had an Illusion of Choice if we're digging real deep.
Oh, is that the voting one?
It's the voting one. It's just a cantrip, but sometimes you just need cantrips that are instant speed.
You know what?
Like, I love Ponder and I love Preordain. I think they're very, very powerful, but I don't know if we need them in this deck. Maybe they're just worth playing because they're so good. Wow, $1 almost on Illusion of Choice.
I don't know about all that. See, before I play that, what's the
this one just says you choose how each player votes this turn and then draw a card. Easy, cuttable one if we need to, but adds to our instant count.
I was going with my favorite 1 mana blue cantrip, but it's over $1, which doesn't seem justified.
Which one's that?
Shadow Rift.
Ooh, target creature gains Shadow. It's 2 words?
Yes.
Generated anyway. Come on. It's been reprinted too. That's interesting to me.
$1.16, because the people understand the power of shadow.
Yep. So it just says target creature gains shadow until end of turn, then draw a card. So actually, a cantrips that I am not a big fan of in this type of deck, because it can't get you to your land if your land's screwed and have no creatures. Somebody has to have a creature. If there's no creatures out, you cannot cast this card. However, it's very likely somebody will have a creature.
It's also $1.16. Not that we're at $53. I think we're gonna need to retag this deck unless we're gonna put some much better cards in it, because we're way low on our dollar figure.
That's true. Any suggestions from chat over there? I got a ton of these. So
we have not put.
Said Obsessive Search, which is just another cantrip that has madness for blue. It's probably pretty cheap. I don't mind listing all of these and just moving the board if we need to.
Do we want any 2-mana ones? Do we want like a Faithless Looting?
So I like Faithless Looting and Magmatic Insight. Those are both 1 mana that basically just card even, just card selection.
Right.
Actually, Faithless Looting is actually card disadvantage, but...
Well, but at the same time, Faithless Looting flashes back.
Yeah. It's very, very good card. I'm not denying it. It's not. Obsessive Search, it's just a 1 mana instant draw card, but it says if you discard it, you can pay a blue and draw a card, which is neat if you hit it with like what's that one that I had put in here? Occult Epiphany. It's not likely to happen, but if it does, or if say you get up to your 8th card or whatever, you go to discard it, you can still cantrip to find something better.
Budget ones. I also like Deliberate.
Deliberate. This is the Scry 2 draw card?
Yep, it's the 2-mana one. We could also play some more interaction in this spot as well. I like Geistwave a lot.
Geistwave, really?
Well,
it's the red-blue one?
No, Geistwave is the 1 and a blue bounce spell that if you bounce your own thing, you get to draw a card.
All right. I dig.
So Savior, if you're using it to save a permanent, like, oh man, this Docent of Perfection's really blowing us out, and somebody goes to remove it, bounce it to your hand and draw a card. Seems fine. Need to bounce something off the board to stop it from killing you.
Yeah. I like cantrips that have additional abilities to them. So more than just draw a card. Overmaster is another funny one that got reprinted. It's pretty cheap now.
Overmaster's cheap now?
75 cents it says here.
Come on.
It just got reprinted in Dominaria
Wasn't it like $20
It
or
was
something
indeed.
stupid
and
like
now
that?
it is 54 cents. I don't think it belongs in this deck, but I'll put it in the considering. It's a 1 red sorcery that says the next instant or sorcery you cast this turn cannot be countered, and then you draw a card.
Do we want to play any protection for ourselves? Do we want to play any? Do we want to play do we want to play a counterspell in this deck? Do we want the MDFC counterspell in this deck? Do we want? We talked about the MDFC, the digs.
Solemnity Vision.
Solemnity Vision.
Don't give me Silumgar. Don't give me Silumgar. Solemnity Vision.
I think it's a SU. Is it Sul? SUL?
Let me look it up.
I.
Solemnity Vision. So this is just a MDFC that you pay 3 mana at sorcery speed, and where did it put it?
Right there.
Oh, it's an instant. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Look at the top 6 of your library. Reveal an instant or sorcery from among them. Put it in your hand. Rest in the bottom of your library in any order. Or on the backside, it's a tap blue land. It's totally reasonable. Do we think we'll make a creature big enough to fling at somebody? Probably not.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think any of the other MDFCs are probably all that reasonable to play in here.
Do we want to do budget. Do we want to play like a stun? Are we on that kind of a game plan?
We don't control a board very well. We're what needs to be controlled. Target creature can't block, draw a card. There's a 1 mana one that does this too.
Is that There's a 1-mana one.
There's a 1-mana one that says creature can't block this turn.
And a cantrips.
Yeah. There's also a 1-mana one that blue that creature gains flying and you draw a card. I can't remember the red
You want
one.
leap?
Oh, Renegade Tactics. It's a sorcery though. One red, target creature can't block, draw a card. I think that if we're going to play Gale in this, we probably want to have a fairly even sorceries to instance. Fairly even, not
Sure.
to be exactly, but. And we're actually at 100 right now. So we're going to be moving into the additional cards now that we're cutting. What about Mana Booster?
Okay.
What was something up
How
here?
about another one that's on my favorite list?
Ooh, let's hear it.
Disrupt.
No. Is this your counter? Is this a force spike that draws a card?
Yes, it is. Listen, there is nothing funnier in my mind than someone putting a spell on the stack, and you're like, yes, I have response. And tapping a blue and saying, counter unless you pay 1, and they're like, but I have like 12 mana. I'm like, yeah, I don't care, I'm drawing a card. Making a deuter, making our team bigger.
Yeah, the only reason I don't like this card in the deck is because it requires you to have another spell. This is a very proactive plan of like making creatures
I
and buffing them.
understand. I just thought I would mention it because if you like cantrips,
It's a fine cantrip. It's not guaranteed. That's the problem.
I know. I like the art too, especially if you get the old
it's sweet.
the Weatherlight one, right? Is that Weatherlight? No.
That's Weatherlight.
Yeah, Weatherlight.
Yeah. What's this here in the chat?
Well, mana booster like Battle Hymn, Desperate Ritual.
Do you think we need mana boosters?
Well, it depends. Do we think we're gonna like win in one big swing, or we're gonna storm off real hard?
I mean, we're
way low.
We're very low CMC right now, and while I think like playing those rituals would be sweet, to be honest with you, they just take up a card slot that is right now we just what we don't have available. So we'd have to make space for them, and I'm fine with that.
Why don't you put the disrupt into the considering board then? And then didn't you say that you thought there was a 1 mana? Oh, you said it's in sorcery speed though.
Yeah. There's other ones like give a creature haste for 1 red. There's make a creature blue, make a creature red that draw cards. There's just so many cantrips.
The wisps.
You could play Get Probe, which is a sorcery, but basically for free.
They reprinted Thought Scour again, so Thought Scour is worth
Thought Scour
nothing.
is totally reasonable in my opinion, because you can really get somebody good with it. Oh, did you just Vamp Tutor? Nice. Before you draw step, I'm going to Thought Scour you. I think my favorite thing to do with a budget deck is to blow people up. It's like, how much was that deck? 800? Man, seems like $55. So Thought Scour is the 1 blue instant. Target player mills 2, and then you draw a card. And you can target yourself with it if you feel you need to for any reason.
Do we want to play some more interaction, removal, anything like that? Do we want to play some of the ones that are... Do you want, like you talked about, an Abrade? Or like... there's another one that I like that's from one of the recent sets is Cathartic Pyre.
Let's check this one out. One do? I feel like this is 1 in a red.
It's removal. It's 1 in a red. It's removal or dig.
Choose 1. Deals 3 damage to a creature, planeswalker. Discard 2 cards, then draw that many cards. Yeah, totally reasonable, and it makes the obsessive search just a little bit better. So we think Faithless Looting probably belongs in this deck. It's just a lot of like value in 1 card, right?
Sure.
And then, makes Madness card. Granted, it's only 1 Madness card. When you get to pull off, like, your, like, random, I only have 2 things that work with this card, it's really fun. Do we think because we're playing, like... Tell me what you think about this. We're playing some pretty heavy-costed instants and sorceries, but we're kind of using the heavy cost to play the creatures. Do you think we should start shaving down some of these like X spells and more heavy costed instant sorceries so that we can play more cantrippy cards? Do you think that's better?
I don't know. I think I kind of
My jam is I don't want to be like, oh, I have 9 mana and I'm only casting one mana spells over and over again. Like, just doesn't feel like you make a lot of headway like that. And our
So let's
our
talk
nice.
about kind of what our ideal play pattern is then. Like, 'cause I like to think about that when I'm kind of at this decision point. Like, what do I really want? I want to.
We're not talking Christmas Land either here. Right?
No. Like typical play pattern. Like I'm thinking, you want to, based on the way we've got this laid out, I'm going to play a land. My turn 2 is either going to be my commander or probably a mana rock, or I'm going to play one of my lower payoff cards like Dreadhorde Arcanist or Harmonic Prodigy or Young Pyromancer or the 3rd Iconoclast, right? Like Goblin Electromancer, like a creature that's one of my little kind of instrumental to the plan things. Then my next turn, maybe my commander if I didn't do that first. And then I want to start kind of going down building my board state is my thought process. Or you could save the commander, build the board state a little bit, then commander, and then start casting my 1-drops. I don't think I want to like turn 1 island consider.
I don't want to do that either.
Right? Like that's not what I want to do. I want to hold that in my hand. I want to get some of my things out that start building my position and then dump those cards.
Just removing one because we have the Salinity Vision in here.
Sure.
I don't think this deck is going to require lots of mana.
The other thing, if we're playing, is there Octavia cares about sorceries in our graveyard, and so does the Gale. Is there what is Wizards of the Thay is a discount one? Mm-hmm. Dreadhorde cares about what's in our graveyard.
It does, yeah.
So what about Curate?
Curate. Let's take a look. $0.04. I think 100 was too ambitious.
Right. Well, we can change our title.
Surveil 2 draw card. Yeah, this is fantastic. Surveil just lets you look at the top X number of cards in this situation 2, and you can choose to put any number of them back on top or in the graveyard. You can do 1 and 1. You can put them however you want. It's better than Scry in my opinion.
So that might be better than Stun.
Stun in here still?
Stun is still in there.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think that our concern is them blocking. Although I do feel like we're missing Ogre Battle Driver in this deck.
Okay.
Although I don't really want to keep the creature count moving up. I'd rather keep
maybe we'll put it in and we'll cut something we don't really love.
Ogre Battle Driver is a really neat card that gives haste, and it's cheap. So it's 2 red. I think it's a 3/3. Don't quote me on that till I see it. Oh. Ogre Warrior says whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, so any token, that creature gets 2/0 and haste until end of turn.
I think that's super strong here.
Really awesome.
Like I would much rather have that card over like Locust God.
Yeah, I think Locust God is pushing towards the, like we're probably not going to have that much mana in addition. It's a really powerful card though. Like it never goes away.
I know, but we're not. Nice, but if you're wheeling, if you're drawing 7, or you're drawing
true.
If you're doing Windfall, Wheel of Misfortune, you're doing all kinds of that action. I love Locust God. Yeah. Locust God will blow you away.
Here's what I picture is going to happen. I'm going to cast Locust God, not have the mana, because I don't want to wait till 7 mana to like hold up a cantrip with it just to get a 1/1 out of it. But I'll play 6 mana, drop it in the field, hope I get to untap with it. Somebody's going to swords it. I'm going to gain 4 life, and it's over.
Right.
Because it can be exiled. Or worse, it'll be turned into an 0/1 that does nothing. It's indestructible.
Sure.
A great card. Love that card. Let's see here. I mean, outside of just doing some cantrips, and like I said, I have a ton of these like payoff/support cards.
Oh, I had some desire for some more card. I had another card advantage card that I've been digging. Is the Robe of Archmagi.
Who's gonna put Robe of Arch in here?
Archmagi. Archmage? Archmagi. Yep. I think this card is sweet.
So it's 2 and a blue for a blue equipment. It says it equips for 4, or you can equip a shaman, wizard, or warlock for 1, which is pretty easy to commander. Whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you draw that many cards. That's pretty awesome.
I just want to draw cards on cards on cards. Now, another effect that we also thought of in the equipment category was the Rune Chanter's Pike.
Yeah.
Which, if we're doing this whole, we also kind of care about what's in our graveyard. This card is awesome.
So Rune Chanter's Pike is a 2-mana equipment that equips for 2. It gives your creature first strike and Exo, where that's the number of instants and sorceries in your graveyard. Just slam this on your commander and just keep playing the game, and you'll just be able to crush people with it. Also, first strike is nothing to be ignored in Commander. Basically means you're really hard to attack if it's on an untapped creature.
I mean, can you imagine the magical Christmas land of putting that thing and the robe on the commander?
On the Crackling Drake?
On the Crackling Drake, and just, oh my god.
Going to town. Be fun. Yeah, we're getting a lot of cards here, but I think that there's those 4-mana enchantments that say when your creatures connect, draw cards.
So
Bident, and the uncommon one is the one I can't remember the name of. It's really good.
Coastal Piracy, Bident of Thassa, Reconnaissance Mission. But another one that I've been playing a lot that I like that's also a creature is Grazilax.
Grazilax, all right. We don't want our creatures getting blocked, though. Because they'll have to be returned to hand, right?
It's not a must. It's a may.
Oh, all right. Even better. Let's take a look at it. Come on. Get this back. And we'll check out the... Reconnaissance Mission afterward.
30 cents.
30 cents is pretty good. So Grazilax, 1 blue. I think it's a 3/2. Yeah. Legendary Horror. Whenever a creature you control becomes blocked, you may return it to your hand. And it says whenever 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, draw a card.
So not as good as the card draw on every single thing hitting with Reconnaissance Mission.
Yeah, which is just bonkers.
But it's 1 mana less. It's a creature, so it attacks with plus boosts from our commander and trample. And it can get us 3 cards a turn.
Yes, by hitting 3 different players.
Right.
So it's definitely a cool card. Fits the bill really well. Being a creature anyway is nice.
Right. So upside.
Also, you could copy it with Vile Duplication.
It's harder to. It's easier to remove because people play less enchantment removal than they do creatures, right? Like the enchantment's going to stick better than Grazilax is.
Likely, yeah.
Right. But I think in this world of we're trying to attack with things, it might offer enough of an upside that it plays. If you want multiple versions of that effect, I think I like it in a deck like this.
Sweet deal. I super dig. As far as interaction and controlling the board a little bit, just because we don't put up a lot of defense.
Yeah.
I'm not sure this makes the final cut, but I think Niblis of Frost or Niblis of the Frost. Can't spell Niblis here.
Well, you just go with Frost.
So many words that have frost in it, though. Like Frost Giant and stuff like that. Let's see here. I have to type Niblis in here somewhere. Nib. Aha! Niblis of the Frost. So 17 cents. It's a 2 blue 3/3 flyer with prowess, a rare, a spirit. And then it says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, tap a creature an opponent controls, and it doesn't untap during their next untap step. Like I said, it's not an army in a can, but it certainly helps you control the board with your cantrips.
Yep.
Where people, if this thing's out there, 1, you'll be able to cast a cantrip to tap down their big thing, and then also this becomes a 4/4 flyer. So it's just really good defense. Again, not sure if it makes the final cut, but this is a very good card to consider in a deck like this.
Sure.
I'm actually thinking this Electromancer is just getting weaker because we just don't have too many. Yeah, we got a few. It's a good card. Just a dinky 2/2.
Yeah.
But
it's no flipping into a homunculus that has voracious reading abilities.
It's pretty cool. So there's a bunch of other cards that we were talking about, like Firebrain Archer, Electrostatic Infantry. Sprite Dragon is another really good one. These are creatures that just get bigger when you cast spells permanently because they get 1/1 counters. Things like Thermo Alchemist and Gutter Snipe basically let you deal damage when you cast spells. I don't think that's what we're doing here.
Right.
Doesn't look like. Looks like we're just kind of going wide and hoping to overrun them a bit with creature tokens. What we got over here? Oh, thank you, Jeff. No, I got it now. Appreciate it though. And then I had like impact tremors and stuff that like just kind of deals damage to everybody. But I don't really think those are necessary. Outside of that, I have some other things that help like make creatures more evasive, like Goblin War Drums. It gives them menace. It's actually quite a strong ability when you're making a bunch of dinky 1/1s because somebody wants to block one anyway. It's an easy block with a 2/2, but if they only have a 2/2, then they can't block it at all. So that's like a nice thing about it. But I don't really think it's necessary. I don't even know what these cards are. I just put them on my list, so I'd like to check them out.
Flip the switch. I don't know that one.
Yeah, I don't know it by name, but I wrote it down because it must have been like neat for the deck. Although if it's this low on the list, it's probably not very good. And it's an instant. 2 and a blue, counter target spell unless its controller pays 4. Make a zombie token.
I got blown out so hard by this card in the sealed pool for when the pre-release happened for this set. I was in the most aggressive position. I'm like, I am winning this game. I got this guy down. He's got we're low, but I have the swing out. I played a spell that was going to end him, and he countered it and made a zombo and attacked me back, and I lost the game. Yeah. And I was like, didn't know that was in the set. Could have played around it.
Fine limited card. Don't think it's all that good for Commander.
It was fun. It was fun in that set.
I got a bunch of like junky cards like this that just let you do kind of the same thing. Generate a cheap token for low cost, but
I think we've got plenty of money left if we want to go that way. Otherwise, we're going to drop a new tagline, which is fine for this deck because originally we were thinking about $100. We're at 56 right now. This deck is sweet though. Do you want more reconnaissance mission effects, or do you just want to leave it at just that one?
I don't think I want to add more of these. Maybe,
that one cycles. It's the best one.
Maybe Bident of Thassa, just because like it has an ability to make your opponent's creatures attack, and you might be able to like get them.
Sure.
But I don't know if it's really something I feel is necessary.
Okay. What's electrostatic infantry do?
Electrostatic infantry is a 1 and a red trampling dwarf wizard 1/2. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery, put a 1/1 counter on it. So this thing could be gigantic.
It could be.
Not saying it's very good, but I definitely think it's worth putting in the considering board. I'm just going to put a few things in here that I think will be easy to cut to considering later. But if you have them and you want to play them, please play them. They're so cool. Best thing about Commander is you can play whatever the heck you want. Don't listen to us. No, I'm kidding. Listen to us.
What is this one? I don't know if
this one is Smoldering Egg. This is a card I tried to make work a long time ago. It's an 0/4 Defender Dragon Egg for 1 and a red. Whenever you cast instant sorcery, put a number of Ember counters onto it equal to the CMC of that spell, the mana spent to cast it. If it has 7 or more of those counters on it, you remove them and transform it.
All right, what's the backside?
It transforms into something good. This Ashmouth Dragon. Whoop, there it is. So it's a 4/4 flyer. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, it deals 2 damage to any target. It just shocks something.
That's pretty good.
That is a very powerful effect. It's a very neat card, but the front end of it's kind of poopy.
Yeah.
It's an 0/4 defender. It gets sucked up in wraths and all kinds of stuff. So really, you're just trying to flip this thing. The cool thing about the card is because it has transform and not exile and return it back to the battlefield, is that you can transform it and still attack with it on that turn as long as you control it at the beginning of your turn.
So I had some of the things we talked about for like closing out the game. I had a janky one that I really liked for this that I thought you might like as well. I had Descent into Dragons.
Oh, Jesus.
As a win con.
I dig this as a win con.
Of the Descent of the Dragons.
Let's put Descent Dragon, see if it comes on. Oh, slow side for the generation. Oh, look, it's thinking. Nope. Descent of the Dragons?
Yeah.
Of Het Dragon? Man, we can talk.
So I was like, I need an instant or sorcery. It's Descent.
Oh. Spelled it wrong. Someone ding-a-ling. Aha! $385. We can't afford that. Oh, wait, we can't. We still have $44 left. All right. So Descent of the Dragons. Want to read it?
It's 6 mana, 4 and 2 red for destroy any number of target creatures. For each creature destroyed this way, its controller puts a 4/4 red dragon creature with flying into the battlefield.
That seems like it combos with Ogre Battle Driver pretty well if you already have it out there in some tokens.
Yes. So this was kind of my how do I play Overrun in Is It? in a Spellslinger deck, this was one of my thought processes. You know, and then sometimes this might just save you, right? Like, you could probably, like, oh, that specific creature is going to kill us all. A 4/4 dragon might be a fair trade for it, or overrun, you know? It's any number. So you can be like, oh, I really want my Crackling Drake to stick around. But these, like, 8/1/1 goblins can just eat it.
Yeah, the cool thing is, like, you can blow up, because any number of target creatures, not just creatures your opponents or you control, you can target a bunch of yours and a bunch of theirs.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll reduce all your power while increasing all mine. Seems great.
I don't know if it'll make the final cut. I just thought it was a fun way to end this.
Seems super sweet to me.
There is another blue. There's a blue one too, but it's an enchantment and it gets rid of all the things. But I don't think I'm into that one. Day of the Dragons, if anyone wants that.
I don't really like that one too much.
No.
It's not great. I do think this one might make the final cut. This is Sprite Dragon. It's a surprisingly powerful card that I play in some decks. But it's a 1/1 flying haste fairy dragon that says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you put a counter on it. This card just, I mean, once you get 2 or 3 counters on it, it's just laying down tons of damage, especially with Balmor. Mm-hmm. So I personally think this card is totally reasonable to play. It also sucks up a removal spell because the fact that it continues to grow, people have to deal with it eventually because it just gets to a point where it's too big, and then it's just, you can just level planeswalkers with it. It's a very powerful card. At 29 cents. I have too many more things I'd like to put in here, though. I don't mind starting to make some cuts here, but
are we
still? We hit most of these things. Oh, I have one more because we have the budget.
Yeah, why not?
You want to draw cards? I mean, we make a lot of 1/1. Skull Clamp is pretty good in this deck, and I'm pretty certain it's one word. Yeah, 443. Wow, that's a good price. Probably pick up a couple Skull Clamps. Skull Clamp, for those of you who don't know, is on my short list for cards that don't belong in Commander because it's way too powerful. And the fact that we get to stick it in our budget deck makes it even better. So this is a 1-mana equipment that says equipped creature gets +1/-1, and whenever a equipped creature dies, you draw 2 cards. Now that -1 on the equipped creature gets +1/-1 is supposed to be a downside. It's in fact a humongous upside because any of our X1s that can attack, say they hit for 2 or 3 damage, then you just pay 1 mana, equip this thing, the creature dies, you draw 2 cards. I will gladly trade in free tokens for 2 cards each for 1 mana. That is such a good rate. And because we have so much budget left, we could probably put like Talrand's Wife back in here. We could probably put like, there's a really, really good like $10 card for this deck that I can't really think of.
Well, Bergie was the one we were talking.
Bergie, yeah, Bergie's neat. We already have Bergie in there.
Oh, she's still in there?
Oh, in the sideboard.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say. I don't think she's in the final list.
Like Poppet Stitcher is really good now because we have budget for it.
Do you want to, since we have a little bit more budget, do you want to put one way to make your team infinitely large?
What do you got?
Just like Mana Geyser Reiterate?
Is it Mana Geyser your opponent's lands tapped?
Yes.
Yeah. In my list, I actually had the one that says for each goblin you control, you get red. It's 1 red.
Also fine.
Where'd it go?
Mana Geyser is a sorcery for 5.
Yep, 5 mana sorcery. It says add a red for each tapped land your opponents control. This card can add 15, 20, 30 mana in a turn, no problem.
And then just a Reiterate. REITER.
I'm just hoping it generates. I was thinking, I was like, I'll just let it think.
I had to spell it like 6 times to spell this card correctly.
So Reiterate. So it's just like a copy, right? You copy with buyback?
Yeah.
So for 1 red instant, it has buyback 3, so you pay 3 more, and you can return or copy an instant or sorcery spell and choose new targets. So basically what happens is you just you play Mana Geyser, and then you copy it with Reiterate with buyback. Right? So you need a lot of upfront mana.
Yes.
You need a lot of upfront mana for this. Because you need 5 plus 6. You need 11 to start it. But once you have 11 mana, what happens is you get your Reiterate back, and with Mana Geyser still on the stack, you copy it again with buyback.
Well, we got Wizards of Thay. We've got a Goblin Electromancer.
Oh, yeah.
We could get some serious discount on these.
Yeah. Totally
I
awesome.
mean, it's just a janky, way to get there.
Plus, I mean, it definitely has the ability of like, oh, I'm flooding it. Let me copy any one of my cantrips, or copy any one of the other things.
Just copy my Hordling outburst.
Yeah, totally reasonable.
Vile duplication, 2 of them.
I think these copy spells are great. What about the one that I play that has kickstart on it, jumpstart on it? There's a blue one with like jumpstart. You play at your graveyard. It's really good.
I don't know that one. It's a blue jumpstart card?
It's a blue jumpstart card.
Not the card draw one. You're talking about a copy one?
A copy one, yeah. I like it in... I play it in Quark, but I can't
It
really
will not do that if you do put it in there. Because that's looking for name only.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Card called Jumpstart.
Is it blue?
It is blue. It's a sorcery. But this is probably fine. There aren't that many blue Jumpstart cards. Oh, don't give me... text. Wait, what? Okay, now I just feel silly. Is it jump start like that?
There are definitely more than one cards.
It's thinking, at least, which means there must be some cards with Jumpstart on in blue. Because there's one that like gives flying. Oh, yes. Sorcerer class or Wizard class are great cards, Jeff. Just hit it again, you think? Hit it again. Did I break it? There it is. Quasi-duplicate. So it's a sorcery for 1 blue. It just creates a copy of a creature you control. And then you can pitch a card and cast it from your graveyard again. Totally reasonable. I think it's a sweet card if you're looking to copy one of these non-legendary token makers like Murmuring Mystic or what have you. 2 Niblis of Frost is awesome. It's pretty neat. Or Magical Christmas Land, you Irenicus's Vile Duplication, your Balmor. So now you make a non-legendary copy of Balmor, and then you copy your non-legendary copy, and then you copy it again, and every spell you cast gives you 4/0.
And quadruple trample.
Yes. Cannot forget about the quadruple trample. This card is... Balmor is templated kind of weird for me. Just because it gives that trample trigger every single time.
All right, you think we're
I think we're at the cutting stage.
We're the cutting place.
There's just so you know, there's just like hundreds of cards you can play in a budget version of this deck. The nice thing about Spellslinger, this style of Spellslinger, is that anything that generates tokens is fine. Anything that draws cards is fine. Anything that costs very low mana, you can cast a few spells in succession are nice. As Jeff was mentioning earlier, the rituals are good. Seething Song is probably fine in here.
Sure.
Any of the other 2 mana ones, or even the Ritual Flame is fine. But I think what we're trying to do is just kind of generate a board and then kind of force it through. Kind of what we're looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're ready to start making some cuts.
All right, we only got 14.
Although Jeff did suggest one more thing here, and I actually like Sorcerer class a lot. So we'll go ahead and take a look at this. Wizard class, I don't think fits our strategy because it requires us to put 1 counters on stuff at its top end, and our max hand size doesn't really matter. So, do you see it here?
Sorcery class.
Sorcerer class.
Sorcerer class? Oh, it's a sorcery over here.
Yeah, I wrote it down here on my list too, Jeff. This is a sweet card. There it is. 55 cents. So I think it's a red and a blue enchantment. Yeah. So basically, it's when it enters the battlefield, you draw 2, then discard 2. Works really good with our discard cards that are relevant to that. For a blue and a red, it says creatures you control have tap to add a blue or red to cast instants or sorceries or to put levels on a class, which is what this would do. So your tokens now become mana dorks, which is super cool. Also, your regular creatures do also. And then it says whenever you the level 3 on it costs 5 mana, 3 a blue and a red. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery that deals damage to each opponent... Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, that spell deals damage to each opponent equal to the number of instant sorcery spells you've cast this turn. So it's kind of like a Stormy, cast more spells, deal lots more damage. So totally reasonable card to play in this deck. I think it's really cool. Also just adds a few more of a different card type, which is potentially relevant in Commander.
Yep.
That said, we're at 115 and we're only at $70. I mean, we could spend another hour talking about wiggling in all these expensive cards and stuff, but I think this is a fine shell. Take it however you like it. Make it what you want it to be. I think Steve and I now we're just going to kind of cut it down to 100, and maybe we'll get under $50. Maybe we won't.
Yeah.
For me, I think starting at the creature slot would probably be the best one because we
Absolutely.
only want to have about 10 or 15, probably 15 at most. Not counting the commander. So let's just roll through them here. Any that you say have to have it, no matter what.
For me?
Yeah. What's your nope, can't go?
I don't have one. I got no loyalties here.
All right, no loyalties. I think that the creature that has to stay is Talrand.
Okay.
This is just free 2/2s with flying are just busted. You'll see once you cast Talrand and then you cast a couple of cantrips, you're like, oh, this should just be a deck because it is.
I think I would start at the high end of the spectrum. I would get rid of the Locust God.
All right. We'll start. How do we sort this by CMC? We'll start there.
You can do sort by right there.
Sort by. Come on, you.
Mana value.
Mana value. I did click it. It's just being silly. Alrighty. So now that we're kind of in a mana value level, Octavia. We'll start with Locust God. Great addition. Great suggestion from the chat as well. But definitely a card that doesn't seem like it fits what we're trying to do with this particular brew.
Right. Locust God wants you to draw swaths of cards.
Yeah.
If
you're playing wheels,
yeah,
play that card. That card's great.
I think Pink Horror is cool. I think the Gutter Snipe controlling board aspect of it is really powerful. Is it really what you want? You want to be 5 mana? Is that where you're at?
I don't like that it costs 5 mana. I do like that all my spells now have a shock attached to them.
Oh, I mean, it's powerful. It's very powerful.
Where, like, Gutter Snipe only deals damage to your opponents, this card actually has the utility of... And if it dies, it leaves you behind something that even plays into your game plan. So it's like pseudo-card advantage, and I really think that I would like to stick with it until we have to make it as a final cut.
What does Zafi Thunder Conductor do? Because I totally
This is the one that whenever you cast or copy instants or sorceries, based on the mana value, you get more. The bigger the mana value, the more you get out of it. Unfortunately, I think that most of our mana values are pretty low, so it's just going to be like a scry creature more than anything else. We don't have too many instants and sorceries that land in the 5 or 10 or more.
Yeah, I think that's an easy one to throw on the considering board.
If you go with a bigger version of the deck, I think this card is awesome. It survives a Wrath as well. Good point. Thank you, Jeff. The Pink Horror, right? I think that's what he's talking about. Because you still get the
Either
value.
that or Locust God. They both survive.
Oh, Locust God too, yeah. Docent, I think, is just kind of the game plan. I don't think you're taking this card out. It's like the best thing you could be doing. Every time I flip this card when I'm playing, the game just ends shortly thereafter. It's just like that. Give +2/+1 to your wizards.
Yep.
And flying is just busted. Wizards of Thay. This is kind of one of those cards that like looks amazing, but I feel like in carryout it might not be too good. Like I'm not attacking with a 3/3 most of the time.
Yeah.
It's the reason that Beast Within is one of the best removal spells because nobody cares about a 3/3.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Thanks, Jeff. But I think this is an easy pull, Wizards of Thay.
Sure.
Paying 4 mana to reduce your cost doesn't really reduce your costs. There is a Planeswalker, Will Kenrith, and blah 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 that I play that reduce cost, but I don't think it's necessary. This card is pretty good. I mean, this is your Bergie, right? This is Bergie in the deck.
Yeah.
This is it's the budget Bergie. And it makes treasures, so they get to stick around.
Do you still want Runaway Steamkin? We
got a lot of blue spells now.
Yeah.
So maybe not.
Let's throw that one back.
I think Runaway Steamkin can make its way to the board, considering. I also think the Loyal Apprentice is also kind of slow with what we're working on now.
Okay.
And it doesn't do anything with our game plan outside of generating tokens.
Sure.
I could easily see cutting that one.
All right. How good is Dreadhorde? Does Dreadhorde have any evasion?
It's got trample naturally, but no, it doesn't evade after that. And since our commander is already giving trample, that's kind of a dead line on there. What it does give us is the ability to cast more spells in a turn, which triggers our commander more.
Yeah, so it's an attack trigger. I like that better than a damage trigger.
Yeah, me too. Let's see here. Harmonic Prodigy.
What's our wizard count up to?
Let's see here. Counting our commander is 1. Dreadhorde 2. Electromancer 3. Prodigy 4. I don't think Sprite Dragon is a wizard. 4. I feel really silly later.
That's
5.
a wizard. That's a cool trigger to double.
Yep. 5. 6.
Oh, that's a good one to double.
6.
That's a good
7,
one to double.
Yep. Spirit, ogre.
That's a good one to double.
Yep, 7. This is not.
That's not. That's not.
And this isn't.
And that's an
So
elemental octopus.
Yes.
Not just an octopus.
Yeah, it's the only one that I'm curious about is where was I? Skipped over one of these that was really important. Stormkill. Dwarf Shaman. Does this do Shaman too? Shaman or Wizard.
Sure.
Yeah. So it works with Stormkill too. So I think this card's pretty sweet. It does have prowess. So like every time you cast a spell, it's getting +2/+0 with your commander out, and it has trample, so that's really good. That's actually really powerful. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. Let's see here. Like I like these 2-mana ones that make dudes. Sprite Dragon is so powerful, but I don't know if it's what we're doing. Are we hanging on the homunculus? I know you like homunculus. We'll leave that in there. It's pretty cool. It's a good card. It ramps mana. Like it does the things. And the backside is pretty good. I almost feel like the Saheeli's probably not needed anymore.
Okay.
It's non-creature though, so it's a little bit. It does like these spells here will also trigger it.
Sure.
Where it's not just these, so it might be good. And there is the opportunity to copy like one of your artifact things. I don't know. Any of these instances, to bring the creatures down by what? We're looking for probably 4 more cuts on the creatures. Have to start being a little bit more.
What do we think? Is Grazilax worth keeping? Are we?
I think we're doing better on card draw now with the Skull Clamp, the Reconnaissance Mission, all these cantrips, the Robe if we leave that in there. Those get us a lot of card draw.
Yeah, I think if you're, obviously we got a lot of cantrips, but those are not giving us advantage.
Nope.
So what do you think we really have for advantage in terms of card numbers here?
Well, this is a different kind of advantage though, because we're generating like free buffs, we're generating free creatures. Those are technically card advantage. They're just not cards in your hand advantage.
Right. I'm just trying to. I'm worried about running out of gas here.
Yeah, I get that, and it makes sense. We don't have a big draw a whole bunch of cards at once unless good things happen.
Yeah.
So Grazilax's probably fine to keep in there. Gale is technically card advantage because it lets you use more cards.
With you on that.
I think we pull the. I'm having a hard time pulling the dragon, but
it'll be okay.
It will be okay.
He'll be fine.
And I actually think that Octavia, while it is a really cool card and does a lot of cool stuff in this deck, you're gonna sit with it rotting in your hand a lot and have to throw hands back because of it.
Yeah. If we're getting cutthroat on creatures, I think that's one of them.
Let's see.
I think it's a sweet deck on its own. I think I'd love to brew it someday.
Yeah. I mean,
we're down at 17. We were thinking we wanted to be somewhere between 10 and 15.
yeah. I think Crackling Drake can grow. We're not playing a lot of copy effects. Like it's good as an individual card, but it's not like it's good in my Krark deck because I make 4 or 5 of them, not because it's good on its own individually.
Okay.
So I think that's an easy cut, especially being blue, red in a budget deck. It's hard to cast on curve, and it only draws 1 card, so it's totally reasonable to cut that. We're down to 16. I think we would probably cut maybe 1 more creature here, and move on to the cutting 6 cards out of the rest of the deck. Or maybe we can start moving to the other cuts, and maybe that will define what creature we get to cut. I mean, for me right now, Niblis is probably the one that's on the chopping block for me.
Okay.
But I love the fact that you can board control with your cantrips.
Yeah.
So, we got a lot of instance sorceries, artifacts, so we can definitely talk about that stuff. Goblin Rally is pretty overcosted for 4/1/1s. Don't know if you think that's worth cutting.
I like it a lot more than I like Talon's Invocation, though.
Really?
Yeah, I just think 4 creatures, even if they're on the ground, play more into our commander strategy than 2 creatures.
Totally reasonable. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I mean, ultimately, 2/2/2s in the air beat 4/1s on the ground. I'm just saying. Make this robe a lot stronger. Make this robe a lot stronger.
They're goblins.
Oh, I love goblins. It's hard to argue with that. Plus, Talrand is once you get Talrand out, it's gonna start running people over.
Right.
This docent, it makes so much power so quickly. But the downside of docent though is that once you flip it and it gets killed, or once it gets killed, You just have a bunch of 1/1 humans.
No, you don't. There are two 1 humans with trample.
I mean, they will be when you cast spells, but its power comes from its backside.
I just love the idea of this deck, like, moving to combat and everyone being like, God damn it, he's got 7 mana and 7 cards in his hand.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really nice.
I can't profitably block anything.
I think the hard evidence could probably come
Yes,
out.
the hard evidence can
It's
definitely
on the weaker side. It is a funny card. It is a 1 mana also that makes a creature, which is not too many of those in instant sorceries in blue and red. Let's see here. So we're at 105. I mean, this isn't too bad.
We're right there.
Yeah. Empty is hard to make good out of in this deck, but I still think it's I still think it's too good not to play it.
I agree.
Let's see here.
All right. So mana geyser, reiterate, blah 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 blah, blah. Infinite mana, empty the warrens.
Yeah, there's infinite dudes. If you got Battle Driver out, they just gain haste and it's game over.
Or just bombardment.
Yeah, bombardment, another good finisher. I like bombardment a lot. I can see cutting the summons though. Technically, a card
This is
draw
the
spell.
place Metallurgical Summons always hits for me in this like 105 card spot, and I'm like, but it's good, but they're on the ground, but I can get cards back, but it's 5 mana, and I always go back and forth.
Here's my argument: it was good when we had like 10 rocks in here. It's less good when we don't have a bunch of rocks too. So to me, it's an easy cut. We also are playing a lot of spells that aren't delving and are a lot of low CMC. So to pay 5 mana up front to just get a 1/1 when I cast a Brainstorm isn't as good as like Docent, which makes Delvers of Secrets, or Talrand that makes 2/2s. So it's totally easy cut for me, I think.
Okay. Good with that.
Especially at 5 mana too. We want to like keep this curve low. We might be able to shave a land. Oh, we're down to 35 with an MDFC, so fairly low with our what's our current curve? 1.68.
Ad nauseam.
If only in blue and red.
You can. You just have to fork it.
So right now, how many things do we have that create creatures? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 permanents that create creatures when you cast stuff. I think that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you just need to cut 4 more cards. It's not bad. Just highlight these 4. I like the Descent of the Dragons. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think it's cool. Let's see, Notorious Throng. That can be very, very powerful.
I got through with this much damage.
Yeah. I like War Party a lot. Stolen by the Fate's kind of weak. You have to kind of invest a lot of mana at sorcery speed. You do make fairies, though, but like the things you're going to want to get rid of are going to cost a lot of mana and give you a lot of fairies, but you need like a lot of mana. It's also a card that you just get blown out by a counterspell.
Let's just say like you're always going to have a 2 mana creature you can hit. I feel like that's kind of like the floor for me when I think about any board state and commander. Like there's at least going to be a 2-drop out there. So are you okay with 4 mana, bounce a 2-drop, make 2 fairies?
It's okay. It's not great. I look at it on its floor of just like...
If it were instant speed, then that'd be a whole other ballgame.
If it's instant speed, then it would be very, very good. But at sorcery speed, I think this is an easy cut to the board.
Okay.
Just because like you have to invest a lot into it and it requires a lot from you.
Sure.
Also, you kind of lose the strength of this deck, which is being able to hold up mana when you go to combat.
Right.
And just be like, cantrip, 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 you're all dead. Which I think is part of the fun of this deck.
Sure.
Let's see here. 3 more to go. $60. It's such a cheap deck. Let's see.
Do we just like leave it at $60, or we like pump a whole bunch of money into the mana base or something?
That's totally reasonable to do. I'm not sure about the Rune Chanters anymore, just because we're down to like 40 instants and sorceries right now. It's still a good card, but I don't think it's necessary for what our particular game plan is.
Yeah, but we've got the Gale. Well, Gale effects will actually get rid of them eventually, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Gale gets rid of them. The Dreadhorde, does the Dreadhorde exile?
It does exile them, yeah.
Right. So
we got rid of the Drake too. So like, I feel like this and the Drake are kind of in the same deck, and this like the cutting the Drake means that we kind of cut the Runechanter's Pike. We're not expecting there to be lots of spells in the graveyard / in exile.
Okay.
And also, this one doesn't count exiled spells, so I just think for 4 mana, like
I'm
two,
okay
two
with
to
that.
cast, 2 to equip,
I'm okay
we
with
could
that.
probably do better on that turn. I think we need to keep these instant sorceries pretty high, though.
Yeah.
And then, you know, obviously mix and match with whatever you want in here. They're all fine. 2 more cuts, bud. What are we thinking? It's fine. It's not great.
Would you Nibbles?
Nibbles, yeah.
Okay.
And then, like, as good as it is, do we need Stormkill in this deck with how low our CMC is on everything?
I like that it also just gets big for the treasures it has, so the trample's more effective.
That's true. That's true. It's an attacker, yeah. Let's see.
Granted, it doesn't, gets blocked pretty easily with a 2, but what, is it just the Satyr's Cunning? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm okay cutting that. It's our super weak card.
Yeah. There's 100.
There's 100. I mean, we could put $40 worth of lands in here if we want.
Yeah, I don't think that's really worth our time.
No,
I think,
it's not. You can.
I think that's totally fine. Yeah. I think we can call it $60, and I'm totally cool with that. I can change the tagline to $60 on our video when we post it. By the way, if anybody didn't know, we're posting all these on YouTube as well. So if you missed the live broadcast or you catch the Twitch later, you want to rewatch them, they're all going up on YouTube as well. So come check us out on there.
Yeah, I think this is it. I think that for now, like, we could hem and haw about which lands to play for their $40, and we can. Oh, there's other cantrips that we could do, but really, it's just if you like the shell, this is the kind of deck you want to build. Here's a cool idea for it that we like. Obviously, even if we played it, we would find the cards that work, better as we play games. The ones that aren't as good, and we'll pull those out. So, I mean, as a cool shell for Balmor, I think this totally is sweet. I'd be happy to play this deck. So
sounds good.
We'll call it. I think on this, it's a decent amount of card draw, decent ramp, lands. You're all there.
All right. Well, I think on that note, thank you everybody for hanging out with us. We appreciate it, and we'll catch you next Monday at 8:30. And yeah, that's good. Good for me.
Yeah. Have a great night, everybody. Be safe out there. If it's snowing in your area. I'm gonna sling the hell out of these.